Buyer's remorse does not come from picking the wrong provider. It comes from trying to handle the entire transition alone. And what happens during that initial setup period sets the tone for the rest of your relationship. I see it happen the same way almost every time.
Here is the pattern. A business owner decides they need a PEO. Maybe the need is driven by a health insurance or workers' comp issue. Maybe they just got hit with a HR compliance penalty they did not see coming. Maybe they are spending 15 hours a week on payroll and HR admin and they are over it. So they go to Google, they talk to one or two sales reps, they pick the provider that sounded the best on the call, and they sign. That was the easy part. Now the implementation starts. And this is where things can go sideways fast.
Nobody told them they needed 3/4 of payroll tax history before migration could begin. Nobody told them that their workers' comp mod rate affects pricing and needs to be verified. Nobody told them that benefits enrollment has a hard cutoff date.
So the owner or office manager now becomes the project manager. They are on the phone with their old payroll company trying to get export files in the right format. They are answering employee questions about whether their doctor is still in network. They are chasing down I-9 documents they should have had on file but never collected properly. And 3 months later, half their team is frustrated and they are saying, this PEO thing was supposed to make our lives easier. That is not the PEO's fault. That is what happens when someone who has never done an implementation tries to run one alone. You don't know what you don't know. Let me walk you through what a guided PEO implementation actually looks like. The PEO Switch Kit. It is included free for every company that finds their provider through Peo-marketplace. No extra charge, no catch. Phase 1, discovery and data gathering. This is the foundation. Everything that goes wrong later in a DIY implementation usually traces back to this phase being rushed or incomplete. During this phase, we help collect full payroll history, ideally 12 months. Employee census data, names, titles, compensation, work locations, and employment status. Benefits enrollment records, who is on what plan, dependent information, contribution splits between employer and employee. Workers' compensation loss runs, your claims history for the past 3 to 5 years, and your current PEO or payroll agreement. We are looking for auto renewal dates, termination notice requirements, and any discrepancies. We do not just collect this data, we clean it and validate it before anything gets transferred. No errors, no missing records, no scrambling once you go live. Phase 2, market comparison, weeks 2 and 3. This is where working with a PEO broker changes the math completely. If you go direct to a PEO, you see one proposal, one price, one benefits package, and you have no idea if it is competitive because you have nothing to compare it against. In a guided process, we evaluate multiple providers side by side, not just on price, on platform quality, service model, benefits carriers and network breadth, workers' comp programs, and how they handle your industry classification. Dedicated versus shared service teams, and technology. Can your employees self-serve? Can you run reports without calling someone? Those are some of the important questions we help answer. We also evaluate cultural fit. Some PEOs are built for fast-moving tech startups. Others specialize in healthcare staffing, construction, roofing, manufacturing, or professional services. A provider that is perfect for a 50-person marketing agency might be completely wrong for a 30-person electrical contractor. You are not on the phone with 5 different sales reps giving the same pitch. We do the shopping, we normalize the proposals into an apples-to-apples format. You review the results and ask questions. Phase 3, decision and contracting. End of week 3 into week 4. You pick the provider that fits. But before contracts are signed, we review the service agreement line by line with you. We are checking for things most business owners would never think to look for. What happens to your rates after year 1? Is the pricing guaranteed? Or is it an introductory rate that jumps at renewal? What is the termination clause? If this provider does not work out, how do you exit without getting locked in for another 12 months? What is the service level commitment? If they promise a dedicated HR specialist, is that in the contract or just in the sales pitch? Once the agreement is clean, contracts are signed, we coordinate the termination notice to your current provider and make sure you are compliant with their notice period, because missing that window can mean paying for 2 providers at the same time. If this is your first PEO and you are coming from standalone payroll, we handle the onboarding setup instead. Same process, just without the exit coordination. We are checking for things most business owners would never think to look for. rate guarantees, termination clauses, and service level commitments. We even negotiate setup fees down, often by 50% or more, before you sign a single document. That is money back in your pocket before the relationship even starts. Once the agreement is clean, contracts are signed. We coordinate the termination notice to your current provider and make sure you are compliant with their notice period, because missing that window can mean paying for two providers at the same time. If this is your first PEO and you are coming from standalone payroll, we handle the onboarding setup instead. Same process, just without the exit coordination. Phase 4, employee data migration and benefits enrollment. Weeks 4 and 5. This is the phase that breaks DIY implementations. There are dozens of moving pieces happening and may be hard to keep up with it all on top of your regular duties. Employee records, tax withholdings, and benefits elections need to be transferred accurately. If your business runs on third-party accounting software, an ERP, or a timekeeping system, this is also where systems integration happens. Your general ledger needs to talk to the new PEO. Your time tracking data needs to flow into the new payroll platform. If those connections break, you end up with manual workarounds that defeat the entire purpose of having a PEO. We make sure your critical business systems stay connected. We provide change management support and employee-facing communication materials. Your team gets a clear explanation of what is changing, why it is changing, and what they need to do. They receive step-by-step enrollment instructions, digital links, and a dedicated support contact for questions, and that contact is not you. Zero paper, zero confusion. And most importantly, you are not the one herding 40 people through an enrollment portal while trying to run your business. Phase 5, Week 6, your first payroll. This is covered by our first payroll guarantee. We stay hands-on through the entire first payroll cycle. We are verifying that every employee is paid correctly, that deductions match what was elected during enrollment, that tax filings are accurate across every jurisdiction, and that direct deposits hit on time. We make sure benefits activate on schedule. If something is off, we catch it before your employees do. First payroll on a new platform sets the tone for the entire relationship. It needs to be flawless. Now, that 6-week timeline is for a standard implementation. A company under 50 employees, single state, one benefits class, straightforward workers' comp. If your company is more complex, the phases are the same, but the timeline stretches. 50 to 75 employees, plan for 8 to 10 weeks. You have more data to migrate, more employees to enroll, and usually more questions from staff during the transition. 75 to 100 plus employees, plan for 10 to 12 weeks. At this size, you often have multi-state payroll, which means different tax jurisdictions, different state-level compliance requirements, and potentially different benefits offerings by location. You might have multiple benefits tiers, one plan for salaried employees, a different plan for hourly. You might have complex workers' comp with multiple classification codes, because your workforce spans desk jobs and field work. If you have union employees, add time for CBA review. If you are in a heavily regulated industry, healthcare, construction, financial services, there are additional compliance steps during migration that cannot be skipped. The point is, more complexity does not mean more chaos. It means more planning, and that is exactly why you do not try to run this yourself. We documented a recent implementation, 35-person healthcare staffing company. 6 weeks start to finish. Annual savings, $38,400. First payroll processed without a single error. If you have been putting off a PEO comparison or switch because the implementation feels overwhelming, that is exactly the problem we built the Switch Kit to solve. Free migration, up to 50% off setup fees, and a first payroll guarantee. Go to Peo-marketplace.com and book a free call. We will map out a timeline specific to your company, your headcount, your industry, your state footprint, your complexity before you commit to anything. No cost, no obligation. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and share with a peer. See you in the next one.